afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. And my name is Vicky Thomas, and I would like to invite you to this episode of Hit Talks Live. Yes, Hit Talks Live. What are we? Who are we? Well, we are a platform that brings together 8 speakers from all over the world, speaking on 8 different perspectives on hope, inspiration and transformation, and each speaker does that in 8 minutes only. And you have to join us to be able to really understand the magic that happens in these Hit Talks episodes, because people come together purely from their heart to actually share with you what they've been through, but to give you hope, to give you inspiration, to give you some transformational messages. There is no selling, there is no positioning, it is purely service from the heart. One thing that Hit Talks has been created since we started on 02/02/2020, which equals 8. Since we started then, is we're creating a community of like-minded souls, spreading hope, spreading inspiration and spreading transformation. So please join us. Sending you love.
Hi everyone. My goodness, this is going to be really interesting because this is the first time I'm hosting the Hit Talks outside Golden Door. And yes, I am Tahira Amir Sultan Khan, and so excited to be here to meet and introduce you to the 8 speakers. Just a little background. Well, I met Vicky, I don't know how many months it's been. It's right at the time that Hit Talks started. And I followed her fascinating journey and have supported her all the way because of what Hit Talks represents in those 8 minutes, which each person just impromptu speaks about from their heart and shares. Within those 8 minutes, it has such substance that it can actually transform lives and people from around the world at this time. And within this 1.5 hours, there's so much wisdom that comes out. It's amazing because I've attended so many Hit Talks and I've spoken a couple of them. And it's amazing in just 1.5 hours, the wisdom that comes out of it. And speakers who thought that they could not really express themselves were expressing themselves fluidly. So that's why Hit Talks is so powerful. It really makes everyone a messenger. We have within us a deeper message, a deeper truth, which is ready to come out. All right? So that journey, I've been with Vicky and now collaborating with her and also with Philip Sykes, and to take this bigger and to more people. And soon you will see how your messages will just permeate around the world. All right? So I'm actually excited to meet the various speakers. I have met them earlier. The first speaker, Daniel Levin. I was quite fascinated by his profile. I think we've got some things in common. The mystic, the businessman, visionary. I was 10 years in the monastery after being so much involved in business, I believe. Hay House, from 3 to 100 million a year. You walked away from $1 billion company. Daniel, wow, to find happiness and inner peace. And then author of The Mosaic. Well, fascinating how he left everything behind to find himself and to help others. We've got a lot to talk about, Daniel. Really excited to hear what you have to share. I'm sure everybody must be fascinated by what you left behind the world to go into the spiritual and then come out of it to give something special. Let's hear from Daniel. Oh, you need to unmute.
Excuse
Now
me. Excuse me. There we go. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Take two, because I didn't unmute. So you'll see I'm not the sharpest tack in the garage, but you may have already known that from my ability to walk away from a multi-billion-dollar company. To run a multi-billion-dollar company, I walked away and said, I don't want to do that. Who does that? But the most telling point of my life, the most life-changing moment for me, was the moment when my dad passed away. He was my hero. I would walk and I would hold his ring finger with my hand. And I was a 3-foot version of a 6-foot version. And people would watch us and laugh and walk on the street and take pictures of us. And I thought my dad was famous because everybody was taking pictures of us. But what he told me was that probably nobody had ever seen a 3-foot version of a 6-foot version where we walked the same, we waddled the same, we looked the same, we felt the same. Everything about what we did was the same. When he passed away, my life changed. I had no idea why I would lose my hero. And my mom passed away 2 years later on the same day, at the same exact time. The backdrop of losing my mom and dad created the life that I lived. So when I was given the opportunity to run a multi-billion-dollar company, my answer wasn't in the money that I would have. My answer was to the question we ask determines the life that we live. The question that I asked was, how can I find that unconditional, beautiful love that I had found with my mom and dad? That love that knew nothing but love. Running a multi-billion-dollar company, I watched my uncle. And I saw that the people that he met, he didn't think that they loved him. He felt that they were after his money. Why would I want to go into a life where I was worried that people only liked me for my money like he did? And he was brilliant. If he was doing it that way, good chance I would have as well. So I didn't find my answer in that. My best friend at that time, when I walked away, disowned me. He said, I never want to talk to you again. Because we had sat around a fountain and talked about how we were going to change the world with all the money that would be in our midst. And when I left, he was heartbroken. He said, how could you be that stupid? You're going to go around the world to find inner peace? What are you, crazy? Do you realize the opportunity that's right here in front of you? Do you realize that what's possible? I only saw him 30 years later, and this is the story that I want to share with you. I was staying in the Mandarin Oriental, a beautiful hotel in New York. The lobby was on the 34th floor. And so you had to take an elevator from the street level to the lobby, and then when you got to the lobby, you took an elevator from the lobby to your room. As I was coming up the elevator from the street to the lobby, and I was getting out, a man with 3 women hanging on him was walking into the elevator. And I looked and I thought, no, it can't be. And I looked again and I said, no, it is. And I said, Neil? And he said, who called my name? I said, I did. He said, how would you know my name? I said, so have you forgotten? Oh my God. We have a celebration going on here. Have you forgotten? I was your best friend when we were 15 years old. And he said, Danny, it can't be you. Is that you? I said, yes. He said, come with me. I've got more women with me than I can deal with. We're going to a club. We're going to have a lot of alcohol. We're going to smoke a lot of weed. Come with me and let's enjoy ourselves. We'll dance. We'll party. And I looked at him and I said, Neil, I love you, but this is not, that was my life some years back, not now. I said, how about if I meet you for lunch? He looked at the girls and he gave them $1,000 and he said, go and enjoy the club. I'm going to sit with my friend. Long story already too long. We sat the rest of the night from 10:30 at night until 4:30 in the morning, just sitting with a bottle of scotch and some cigars, talking to each other. As we were about to leave, he looked at me and he said, Danny, when you walked away from everything that you had, I thought you were the stupidest man in the whole world. But now as I look at you today, and I feel the peace that just emanates from you, I think perhaps I was the stupidest man in the world. I've been married 4 times. My kids don't talk to me. I'm married now, and the 3 women you saw me with, I cheat with every time I come to New York. I do the same thing in other cities, in other countries. I haven't known a minute of happiness since the day you left. And I said, Neil, I'm your buddy. That's easy. We can, let's get together after you get back home. Call me. I'll come to Denver. I'll see you. He said, I will absolutely call you the minute I get back because I want what you have. That was 20 years ago. He still hasn't called. Money is the easiest thing in the world to have. For those of us who don't have it or think we don't have it, that sounds like a hard statement to make. But I can tell you, money is easy. Inner peace, that's the thing that's hard. And what pains me more than anything in this world is looking around at a world that has so much and feels so little of themselves. My world is around sharing and helping people to feel inner peace. If this resonates, please get in touch with me. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you 8 minutes that can change our life. This is Danny, I'm out.
Thank you so much. And then the echo starts. Okay. I loved what you just shared, Daniel. As I said, I resonate, and I think we have a lot in common because I also walked away from that kind of life, that intense, that money, and I just closed up my company and just left because I had no peace. I completely understand what it is because that is the real treasure. Peace and joy. I questioned what joy meant. And I love the story about how you have such a great love with your father and how you see so much of him and you in together with each other. Seems like you are carrying his legacy and his spirit with you to complete what's important right now. I love the pauses that you gave. I love the fact that it was such a soulful talk that made us, I'm sure the rest of the speakers and also the audience listening around the world would think twice. Because when we see everything out around us on Facebook, it's about making money, money, money. How do you make money quickly? Making money is good, but let's get back to basics also. Let's not lose track of what's important. And what you're doing is so important. Daniel, thank you so much. It really is a reminder for us that not to lose ourselves in this rat race. We're here on a purpose. And you're walking your purpose. That's what's most important. If your friend is not, well, hopefully one day he will. But really, I think that billionaire, I read this quote one place that the real definition of a billionaire is a person who impacts a billion souls. That's the real definition of a billionaire. All right. So I'm actually very pleased to introduce the next guest, Dr. Kirpal Singh. We actually work together. Dr. Kirpal is such a legacy in the field, in the literary field. And I think, I don't know how many years, 30 years, 40 years, more than that. And he has been a visiting professor around the world. He is a poet laureate. He is the first Asian director of the Commonwealth Prize. Commonwealth Prize, and a scholar, a writer. He's worked with some of the top authors around the world, famous people. He is very well known in Singapore among the academics, among the government leaders. They all know him. Fiction writer, essays. He is Singapore's renowned cultural and literary critic. So honored to have worked with him. I'll tell you, I met Kirpal about a couple of years ago now, I think, but 4 years ago. And very humble. He doesn't go around talking about all his greatness, but his real greatness is his humility. And how he has helped Golden Door. As you know, Golden Door Awards and Hit Talks are in partnership. Golden Door looks at truth and integrity, and Hit Talks looks at hope, inspiration, transformation. What a wonderful combination. So we look at truth and integrity of the written word. And Kirpal has given his time to be the chief judge. And he always has great words of wisdom to share. Even though he's sort of partially retired now, he still gives all his time to mentor people. He's my mentor. And I hope that you will gain from him as he joins us today at past 3 a.m. Singapore time. He's making big sacrifice. Okay, Kirpal, looking forward to have you. You're next. Unmute. Unmute. I can't hear you. The microphone is on. Did you click the button? Oh, he's not muted. Oh, you're not muted. We can't hear you. My goodness. You were fine earlier. You want to put your headphones then, Kirpal? Now? No, you were speaking fine just now. Try again. No, we can't hear you. Oh my goodness. Is the volume of your computer? Are you using your phone? You're using your phone. Maybe you put your volume at minimum, by mistake. Turn your volume up. Okay, we'll have to move on to the next speaker, unfortunately. Kirpal, you want to try again one more time and before we go on to the next speaker? You have to sort out your... One more time, and then we'll go off the next speaker, and then we'll wait for you later. There's something wrong with yours. Now? Maybe you know, okay, all right. Kirpal, okay, maybe you can log out of your mobile. Sorry, everyone. Sometimes these things happen. Okay. Some of the setbacks of having a live, but just bear with us. We're going to go on to the next speaker, and Kirpal will join us later. I have given you the introduction of this amazing man, but now I'm going to introduce you to Pravin. I'm meeting Pravin for the first time. He is a trainer, and yes, he's a trainer, and he has, I believe, has done thousands of workshops, 2,200 workshops in life skills and programs on team building, business education. A poet and writer blogger, very interesting. Pravin, you should be part of Golden Door. Okay, and he is based in India, and unlearning unlimited. Very interesting, a lot of unlearning. I'm keen to know Pravin, and I'm just sure the rest of the audience are just as keen to learn what he has to share. Over to you, Pravin.
You can hear me? Okay. Let me start. Unlearning, and I'm starting with unlearning, and I am talking about something that I like to do in my programs. I show them a mango. I divide people into different groups, and I ask them, like, there could be groups of 3s, 4s, 5s, and I ask them to divide the mango by discussion within 60 seconds. And I tell you, they come out with solutions. They talk about the ways they'll do it, and there are shakes, there are juices, there are things made out of the mango based on that discussion in 60 seconds. And then I tend to see that when I ask them the question is, did they discuss needs and wants? Did they ask everyone concerned whether they were looking at who wants the mango, who needs the mango? And most people will not have discussed that. And then I ask them the next question. What's more important, needs or wants? And the majority in the room say they feel needs are more important. And this is where unlearning happens. And I'll tell you how it connects to hope, inspiration, and transformation. If needs are important, we would accept things that would satisfy our need. Like suppose if I'm hungry, any bit of food would do for me because it would satisfy my hunger. But I want that food to be in a particular form, to be presented in a particular way, and to be to my taste. Otherwise, I'm not going to, even if I need it, I'm not going to eat it. So wants are higher needs, and wants are more important. Wants make us aspirational. So now that's the first thing I'm going with. When I was in school, I read a limerick. And the limerick went like this, that for every ailment under the sun, there is a remedy or there is none. If there is one, find it. If there is none, never mind it. Means don't bother too much about what's happening and all that. Like if it goes, fine. If it doesn't, it's okay. And that became my life philosophy. But then when I came to the concept of unlearning, I changed the limerick to one. The top remained the same. For every ailment under the sun, there is a remedy or there is none. But the second part changed. If there is one, never mind it. And if there is none, find it. Now, this is the unlearning of the limerick. It's turned around. So if you have a solution, you look for some more. You get into innovation. If you have no solution, then find it. There should be something. And that's where hope comes in. Hope is being able to see things as they could be. And where did this unlearning come from? It came from Zen. Okay? Zen. And I put a picture there, but I think I'll show you. There is this guy called Buddha. And Buddha was born in India, but Zen comes to us from the Oriental, from Japan. But it comes from Buddha. In India, it was Dhyan. Dhyan is also referred to meditation, but this was introspection. And Zen came to us back all over the world from Japan, but it comes from Buddha. And this is very interesting. There was a Zen master who had a new student coming to him, and he offered him tea. And he began to pour the tea till it overflowed. And the student said, "Master, the cup is full." So the master said, "So are you. Go, empty your cup." What is unlearning? We accumulate knowledge, skills, and also attitude over a period of time. And we need to be able to refresh it. We need to be able to upgrade it. But to do that, first we will have to unlearn. Till we don't unlearn, nothing will happen. I come from Goa, a small state, but very beautiful state in India. And there is the language we speak here is Konkani. And there is a saying in Konkani, but I put it before you in English. It says, you cannot keep your feet in two canoes, in two boats. You can't do it. But it's very strange because in Goa, a lot of people at different festivals, at the church festival, at the temple festival, at the harvest festival, they take a lot of these small boats, they put wooden planks on them and create what is called a sangod. All right. Now the sangod is a combination of many boats, and on a single boat, you can even have, if a single boat can take 4 people, a sangod of 4 boats doesn't take 16, it can take 30, 40 people because it is that much more sturdy. Now, when we get together, our, synergy, our energies combine, not in addition, but in multiplication. That message comes to us from sangod. Now, I spoke about Buddha. Now, Buddha, there was this concept. Buddha means the enlightened one. All right. He said, Bhojan Hitaya Bhojan Sukhaya. Now, this is Indian terminology where Bhojan means the underserved majority, the people who are not having access to resource, to guidance, to opportunity, them. Hitaya means in the interest of them. And Sukhaya means in the happiness, in the joy. So what Buddha was saying, we need to unlearn everything we do so that we can be doing it in the interest and the happiness of maximum people. As I reach to the end of my time, I would like to, give a particular message. Most of us, we love memory. The instruments that we use, the computers, the laptops, the mobiles, everywhere we love memory. We love the memory in our head. But now this is the line I want to leave you with. Forget learning, learn forgetting. If we have to renew, if we have to refresh, we have to unlearn. What do we have to unlearn? We have to unlearn prejudice. We have to unlearn despair. We have to unlearn hurdles. I always say this, if we can be hopeful, we will be persons who will be forward going and we will be inspirational. And if you have a lot of such people, transformations will happen. That's what I wish for all of you. Maybe unlearn, maybe have that hope, have the inspiration, and may the transformations happen. All the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pravin, for the vibrant presentation on unlearning. Yeah, we got to unlearn a lot of things. I had to learn I had to unlearn holding on to things, having things, and become a minimalist. That's one of the things. Unlearn what society teaches you from young, the education, and start thinking in a new way. Yes, absolutely. Because we need to be like an empty cup to receive the greatness that is coming to us now, those downloads. What a great presentation. I love the fact that you used the placards and the short words. It was easy to grasp. I'm sure that you have been guiding so many people and making it so easy for them to understand this concept so that we can have this transformation for this planet. We are at a at the tipping point, really, at this time. So much needs to be gained, so much radically new way of thinking. So you got very important work, Pravin, I'm sure, especially in schools, because even the school systems, well, it needs to be changed. So great work, and excited to see what more you're doing also in India and around the world. Now, our next speaker is based in Sydney, Australia. He is Dimitrios. Just a second. Dimitrios, yes. Someone is calling me. Okay. Dimitrios Papaplexis. And he is a community youth development practitioner. Meeting for the first time. He's also a counselor, and he runs this, he's founder of SoulGen in Australia. Very passionate about community development, storytelling, and the arts. And so he is a bit of a social worker, and he's working on community and making a difference in the community during this difficult time in the pandemic. He got the award, A Cause for Applause, which is great. Look forward to hearing more from Dimitrios. Love to see what you're doing, and welcome.
Welcome, everyone. I'm very excited to be here in this community of like-minded and soulful people. I guess my story is similar to Daniel and Kirpal. Is a story of going inwards to find meaning and purpose, but also of unlearning. So as a small kid, I was very shy and introverted, and it took me time to find myself. I studied at the Aristotle University in Greece, arts. I went to the Greek army because it's compulsory, and I found myself 10 years ago in Sydney, Australia, working in the Greek consulate, doing a master's at Sydney Uni, and living the life, being part of many communities. But something was missing, something was not there, and I didn't know what it was. So long story short, I met my wife at the university, and she finished her PhD, and she had to move back to Brazil so she can defend her thesis. So I had to make a choice. Do I stay in Sydney and enjoy the life that I worked so hard to achieve, or do I follow my heart and I embark on a new journey? So it took me no time to decide that I will leave everything behind and I will move to Brazil, and I will see what's there for me. And most importantly, I will be with the person I met and I wanted to be with. That's the beauty of going outside of your comfort zone. This is where my real journey began, where I learned so many lessons, spiritual lessons, life lessons, and when I discovered my purpose in life. I remember I was in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, in a bus full of people. It was very hot, and I was wondering, what am I doing here? How did I find myself here? And this is where I discovered the art of gratefulness, trying to find the positive in your life. And see the glass half full instead of half empty. I also opened a business in Brazil, an English school, and I moved to a small town. And this is where my work with youth and community development happened accidentally. So I accidentally met some young people in an English school, and these young people came from a rough background, and they have been through a lot. However, when I talk to them and when I get to meet them, they all wanted to give back to their community. They all wanted to help other people who are more vulnerable. And they like music. So out of spontaneity, out of synchronicity, we formed a collective with the young people. And some of them like poetry, some of them were singing, some of them liked acting. And we started visiting different asylums, orphanages, and performing and sharing stories and sharing poems and sharing inspiration. And that was a beautiful work. And the young people felt empowered in the process. Some of them became journalists, the young people, other became artists. But what's more important is that they made a difference in their community and they found meaning. Instead of seeing themselves and their story as being, disadvantaged, they took the lead in their communities. And I also found my purpose. I also find something that's more meaningful than money, more meaningful than accomplishing things, which is true success. Long story short, when I had to come back to Australia, I knew that I want to work with young people and communities. I knew that that was part of my purpose and do it in creative ways. And I went from accidentally youth worker in Brazil to New South Wales Youth Worker of the Year 2 years ago. And in one of my travels, I was in India, in Goa. And I met a community there, a beautiful community in a small village of children. And they asked me to run a workshop there, a theater workshop. And when I met those children in that community, they had some little money from a small grant to clean a river. But what the local volunteers in that community in Goa decided, in that small village, is that we won't clean the river. What we will do instead is we will work with the kids and their own natural compassion and kindness and see if the kids want to clean the river or what else they want to do. Very soon, the kids not only clean the river, but they also they use their imagination and they want to create a floated garden in the river. So they did so. There was a crocodile in the river that they were very fond of. So they started promoting the crocodile and other people started visiting that place so they can see the crocodile. The kids like dances. So another volunteer there had international experience and took them to different festivals, and the kids started dancing and showcasing their culture. They also want a library in their place, and one of the volunteers there had a space in his house, and he opened the community library. So here I was in a village in Goa, seeing the power of children's imagination, kindness, and creativity to reinvent their community. It wasn't the government, it wasn't our knowledge and expertise of the volunteers. They were facilitators, they were hosts exploring the imagination of children. And that was a confirmation for me that that's the way to go. That's the unlearning that has to take place. Because you see, in our community, in our life, in our society, in our world, the right-hand hemisphere of our mind, the left hemisphere of our mind took control, dominance, like patriarchal energy, masculinity. And all this is good. We need that for direction, for focus. But what we also need is the right brain, which is our creative side, our feminine side, or our yin side. And this is very important to do. The two have to be married together for some meaningful work and social change to take place. Here in Australia, we have a lot of resources. We're a first world country. We have a lot of money, but we have a lot of wicked social issues: mental health, youth suicide, unemployment, housing. Again, because we are not tapping into the power of our children's imagination and kindness, the young people we work with, and our own creativity and intuition. So some months ago, I was invited to be on a project with people from refugee background, young people and other people, and they want to create podcasts to share their lived experience and their stories of resilience. And what happened is I didn't speak Arabic. They were from Arabic background. And some of the older people got frustrated. However, the young people stood up, they started translating, they started mediating, they started translating the resources, and they had a rich conversation, and they helped each other to create those podcasts, to share their lived experience from their refugee journey. And that was another magical moment that happened when we tap into children's and young people's kindness and imagination. And we open up to the gift of life if we tap into our own also kindness, intuition, and imagination. So I guess that these were a few stories. I can talk for 80 minutes, but 8 minutes are also very viable to try to change the world through hope, inspiration, and imagination. But these are 8 minutes to let you reflect about how can we find our purpose by tapping into our heart, and also how can we give more space to children and young people to change the world, because they are not the leaders of tomorrow, they are the leaders of today. Thank you very much. I'm Dimitrios from Sydney, Australia. Honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dimitrios. Very important, the children, the future of children, and the present, that they represent the leaders of today. You're right, Dimitrios. They are the leaders of today. Children have been stifled at this time. I'm sure in Sydney. I don't know whether it's locked down there. It's very hard for children. Where I'm right now in Malaysia. Very difficult for children. They are being affected. And working on what you're doing, community development for children, so important right now, because we need to protect them. We need to nourish them. We need to raise them up now. Okay, the world's going to be so different after this. And they are the most vulnerable right now at this time. They're not used to being locked down and not interacting. They're the ones who used to play. For as adults, we can handle it, but children, not really. So it's crucial. We need more people like you, Dimitrios, to do this all over the world for this protection. And our future, and you say present, depends on it. So let's just pray, and I just hope that you will inspire more people around the world to do what you're doing, and for more and more children to benefit. I look forward to having Kirpal again. I hope he's back online. Is he? If not, we will go on to the next speaker. Kirpal, is your voice working?
Can you hear me?
Good. Yes. Are you ready?
Is it working? All right. Okay. I'm here. Do you want me to say a few words now?
Yes. Please start.
Hello? Can everyone hear me now? Hi. Well, I don't know whether you can actually see me and hear me, but let me just say a few words. It's been a very, very exciting time the last year and a half. I think in terms of everything global and everything international as well as national. Many of us are very concerned as to where this is going to lead us. And when I communicate with people from many different parts of the world, from Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand, India, China, and all of that, there's one strain that is very, very powerful that comes across in all these communications. And I think probably the best word in English that sums it up is the word anxiety. I think human beings all around the world today are full of anxiety. And anxiety is something that is very unsettling, because when a person is anxious, all kinds of emotions and all kinds of sensations and all kinds of thoughts are running around as if each is trying to get the attention of the other. But because the other is also himself or herself trying to get attention, things go very, very awry. So I think the first thing perhaps that is very necessary in this very pandemic sort of era is to have calm. I think we need calm. We need to tell ourselves that hopefully the world is not going to end in the next 1 hour or in the next 1 day or 1 month. There's time yet. And why do we need this time? Actually, I can sum it up in one word. We need the time to heal. Because whether we like it or not, whether we are tall or short, big or small, from any part of the world, we need healing, because we have been damaged. And I think the damage that is being done is so powerfully global that while we all are willing to recognize it, we, I think, are also given to try and protect ourselves by a pretense that yes, we are living in difficult times, and yes, there is a pandemic, but it doesn't affect me. I'm okay. I think it's good to do that, and it is necessary perhaps to do that. But we have to do it in terms of understanding. We have to do this in terms of caring. We need to do this in terms of communicating properly what we really and truly feel. Because one thing is very clear: the pandemic is not entertaining nonsense. It is not comfortable with not having its power felt. So as my grandmother used to say, when there is a greater power that is working over you, acknowledge it. Once you acknowledge it, then the power begins to listen to you to say, okay, now you know that I'm here and I'm powerful. What can I do for you, or what do you want to tell me? And I think we need to tell this power in our own way, maybe in the plural, in our own ways, what we want the power to do for us. And for me, maybe the power can help us do three things. One, which is already being done right now, is for us to communicate. So I'm hoping that people are listening and hearing what I'm trying to convey. And I want to thank everyone who is listening and doing this. The second is we need to formulate very clear communications, very clear messages, because many of our young are very eager to try and fathom what their elders are doing in this time of crisis, because we are in a state of crisis. First thing is to acknowledge that we are in that state. The next is to say, let's put our heads together and try to get out of this as completely as we can. Some of us will probably never get out of it completely, but hopefully many of us will. It may take a little bit of time, but we will get out of it. So I would say confidence, affirmation, and positive expectation. I think these three things would see us through this very, very difficult and trying time. And we all need to work together in this. So I hope that when we are seeking what the ancients used to call the golden truths, and one of the most powerful and abiding truths that has been with me from the age of about 7 is that famous one. In different languages, it's worded differently, but in simple English, it just says, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. In other words, if I want to be treated properly, the first thing I need to do is to treat others, everyone else around me, properly. That doesn't mean always, to use a Chinese phrase, kowtowing, that means just giving in all the time. No, what it means is to do whatever we are doing decently and with due consideration of those around us and with due consideration to the end goal. Because sometimes, in terms of carrying on, we lose sight of what we are really trying to achieve. And therefore, it is important for us to preeminently keep the end goal in mind. And I think once we have that, then we are composed, we are ready, we are prepared to communicate effectively, powerfully, eloquently, and with a kind of appeal that will strike at the heart of those with whom and to whom our communication happens. So on that note, I would say congratulations to Tahira for doing this wonderful Golden Truth and Golden Daws award series, and for being our chairperson tonight. I also want to thank Jane, who's been coming in and out and sort of, I think, providing what in dramatic language would be called little prompts. And I'm very, very grateful to be part of this wonderful enterprise that is growing by the day. And I look forward, because, you know, I'm past 10, but God has blessed me so far with good health. And I hope to have good health for, you know, a while longer, so that I can see that the golden truths are actually embraced, not just talked about, but embraced and found in our everyday living, because it is our everyday living that really people watch, people see, people hear. On that note, I want to thank all of you for listening, and to thank Tahira and Jane for having me on this show. Thank you very, very much. It's about 4 in the morning in Singapore. So it's been very exciting listening to the previous speakers. And I hope my little call for calm, appeal, and good sharing will also mean something to those of you who are still listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kirpal. Yes, it's 4 a.m. for you. Time for bed. But thank you for waking up at this time to share your inspiring message, which we need right now. We are 1.5 years from this crisis. You know what? Yes, anxiety is a very, very dangerous thing. And we need hope. We need to be positive, of course. And we need community. We need each other to uplift. And we need to keep inspiring each other. Absolutely. So, Kirpal, you also talked about the golden truth. The golden truth. We are all sharing golden truths because golden truths resonate in eternity. If these videos were watched by a group of people 50 years from now, 100 years from now, they would still be sound wisdom. And if it's spoken from the heart, if it's something which you feel that it is in line with your authentic self, it is a golden truth. And there are lots of golden truths being birthed right now. This is a time of a renaissance, actually. People who have never really spoken and written are doing that right now. People who have never really tapped into their wisdom are realizing the great wisdom they have within, and they are sharing. Um, we are breaking past those compartments that we've had. Dimitrios talked about the left and right brain. We are breaking past those barriers that we have between the left and right brain. So now we bring everything together. We're going back to the heart, we're going back to values, and we're also looking at everything, all information in totality. A lot of soul searching right now, and also the realization of the human. So, basic values is not nothing. It is the $1 million, it's the $1 billion. It really is the $1 billion now. We focus so much on technology, infrastructure, but these things, this energy we have for each other, we connect, the empathy, that is the technology of now. That is what's going to take us through this time. Really, it is. So let's keep building up those bonds. And I love what introducing our next speaker, Zafran, because Zafran, what he's doing, I have met him virtually twice, I think. He's based in the UK. What he's doing is that he is helping the small businesses. This is the time of the small. I got this vision, in fact, that this is a message I got from God, from the Creator, that we need to raise up the small businesses. They make like for example, in Indonesia, I think 90% of the organizations are small business, more than that. Same in Singapore, probably almost every part of the world. They are being crushed. They have been locked down, and they're the ones really feeling the pain. Not so much the large. The monopolies, we've seen the monopolies. We know who they are. They are thriving. But really, it's now about the small. And the small need to come together as a network to become big, as a collaboration. So what Zafran is doing is actually very important, and I'm very curious to hear what he has to share with all of us in terms of a story or a message, and welcoming Zafran.
Thank you, Tahira. First of all, can everybody hear me? Thank you, Tahira, for a nice introduction. And it's an honor for me to be part of a fantastic audience and to be part of amazing people, 8 of us that came on one platform to share our 8 minutes. Now, what I want to talk about is that the world that we're going through is that we're going through fear. Now, there's an unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of danger, leaves pain and harm. And I believe God created us to be amazing. So all we need to do and take the step is towards Him, because safety is with Him. Fear will disappear when you understand the power of God. God is on your side. So make bold decisions and take your life to where you want it. Fear is a human emotion that is triggered by a perceived threat. It's a basic survival mechanism that signals our bodies to respond to danger with a fight or flight response. As such, it is an essential part of keeping us safe. You see, however, when people live in constant fear, whether from physical dangers in the environment or threats that they perceive, they can become incapacitated. So fear can impair formation of long-term memories and cause damage to certain parts of the brain, such as the hippocampus. This can make it even more difficult to regulate fear, and then that fear can leave a person anxious most of the time. To someone in chronic fear, the world looks scary, and their memories confirm that. Fear prepares us to react to danger. Once we sense a potential danger, our body releases hormones that slow or shut down functions not needed for survival, such as our digestive system, sharpen functions that might help us survive, such as eyesight. Our heart rate increases, our blood flows to muscles so we can run faster. Our body also increases the flow of hormones to an area of the brain known as the amygdala to help us focus on the presenting danger and store in our memory. Fear can act as an escape or a hiding place, a retreat from the unknown. It can distort one's perception to the point where fear can feel safer than really living life to the fullest. Freedom can be quite scary, so retreating in fear may bring comfort. No emotion, be positive or negative. And then there's tips to work through your fear and live with it. So if you are going through fear right now, allow yourself to sit with your fear for 2 to 3 minutes at a time. Breathe with it and say it's okay. Write down the things you are grateful for. Remind yourself that your anxiety is a storehouse of wisdom. Exercise. Use humor to deflate your worst fears. Don't smoke. Eat a diet with high fruit and vegetables. Exercise regularly. Maintain a healthy weight. If you drink alcohol, drink only in moderation. Get adequate sleep. Take steps to avoid infections such as washing hands and frequently and cooking meats thoroughly. Try to minimize stress, because at the end of the day, everything comes from energy, because we are energetic beings stored in a mass particle form, constantly vibrating and creating our own realities. So our vibrations refer to escalating movement of atoms and particles caused by energy. So imbalance in the body's energy field can negatively impact our well-being. The cells within our body respond to our emotional states, and that state can be of peace, love, happiness, and acceptance. All vibrate at a high speed, which create an optimal environment for healthy cells. Our thinking patterns have a profound effect on our body's vibrating field. We can raise our energetic vibration by being conscious of and changing our thoughts and actions. We must also be conscious of our environment that we're in. Who are we spending our time with? What are we eating? What are we watching? What are we reading? And the most importantly of all of that, are they helping to invest in our well-being? Because of helping our well-being, it raises our energy. And that way, we become more aware of ourselves at a quantum level, which will help us to remind us of how powerful we are alongside the endless possibilities within us. By practicing gratitude, respecting our boundaries, eating well, meditating, and healing our emotional wounds, we can deliberately elevate our vibration, because energy cannot be destroyed. It simply changes state. You see, the verse from the Holy Quran says that, do you not see how God compares a good word or good tree? A good man is one who's like a good tree. What is a tree? A tree begins from a seed and continues to grow into a plant, a strong trunk, branches, which then give flowers and fruits. Similarly, all men and women must develop themselves like a tree. Where the tree develops itself in the physical terms, men and women must develop the same qualities in terms of morality. They must become giver members of society by doing everything on an electoral basis. And this is what enables us to help those people who live in fear, going through anxiety, who need that change, is by, if you give somebody what they want, you will always give what you want. And that comes with hope, That then leads into inspiration, and then inspiration takes you to transformation of giving, of thanking. That is my message today. Tahira, thank you very much for allowing us to come. Jane and Vicky Thomas for putting this lovely platform to be with the other great souls from the globe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zafran. Thank you for the education, the very concise but very thorough explanation about how it is important to release fear. It's really is for our survival. You've talked, and Zafran talked about raising our vibrational frequency. We need to be at the highest frequency. There are two things. One is resilience, which I'm sure you've heard that word many, many times, about getting through this time, being resilient. But what you've talked about, Zafran, is beyond resilience. It's really about being anti-fragile. And anti-fragility is when you, even in the hardest of times, in time like this, we can thrive. So in order to thrive, we need to get away from fear. We need to get past fear so that we can pursue our passions and be unstoppable, and just to be always above all that is pressing us down. We've got to be above all this. It's like being above the clouds. We've got to be above all this and get past this. This is something which everybody needs to do if possible. I know it's not easy. We got to help each other out. And I'm glad that you did a bit of that encouragement, Zafran. Seeing another side of you, which is wonderful. Now, I am pleased to meet and introduce a lady. Now, she is Karena de Souza from Canada. Interesting, she calls herself a strategist and futurist. She looks ahead into the future. She looks at the work, the frontier of work, and about conscious, courageous parenting. Again, back to the young, very, very important. So how we need to make the right decisions. So I'm curious to hear what she has to share, because I'm sure that we will learn a lot from her. Welcome, Karena.
Thank you, Vicky, and thank you, Tahira. And thank you to Joanna Savrina for introducing me to these HIT talks. I'm very excited to join this global community. And I'm going to do the classic COVID introduction, which is, can you hear me now? So just going to see if there's a message that pings up, and I'm going to hope that I'm live. Fabulous. Well, today I'm going to talk to you guys about space. I was a little girl the very first time I got fascinated with space. I remember it clearly. My father stopped us all in the middle of our games, and he gathered us. He says, "You've got to see this. It's a historic moment." And with that, he brought us all into the one room in front of our little TV set. I remember sitting cross-legged on this gray carpet in a room with avocado green upholstery, and he turned the knob. And there, in the middle of Africa, a black and white signal sputtered. And I watched a grainy transmission of Neil Armstrong, clad in this huge plastic suit with a giant fishbowl for a helmet, and he stepped onto the surface of the moon. "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," he said. And that was it. Like millions of other little kids my age scattered across the globe, my love affair with the heavens started. The next time was just over a decade later, and this time we were in our family home in the UK. We just moved in, and half of us were painting walls, the other half were weeding gardens. And once again, my father stopped all of us and gathered us around this color TV with its 3 channels. "This is an important moment," he said. And so we all sat and watched as the first space shuttle Columbia took off. And so I felt like I was channeling my dad this past week, and when I gathered my still sleepy kids here in Canada, and we all watched as Virgin Galactica went suborbital. Once again, we were marking a significant moment in our relationship with the cosmos. So ever since I've been old enough, I've grown up on this steady diet of space and science fiction. Star Trek, Star Wars, Jetsons, and my very favorite, Doctor Who. When we embrace science fiction, we dance between the limits of our intelligence, the boundaries of physics, and the elasticity of time. We play with possibility. So my father had this wonderful enthusiasm about him when he encouraged us to share in these major feats of human accomplishment. And I often wonder if it was in part his passion that inspired me to become a futurist who focuses on the future of work. As parents, we walk a slim tightrope for our children between protecting them and propelling them. Now, my father may have given me a love for space, but what he actually did was so much more. He created space. He created the space for me to believe that anything is possible. And for a parent, that is very, very powerful. Today, as adults, we look into the world and we wonder, what will my children do? How will they live? But to do that, we come boxed in with our own experiences, our own stories, and our own failures. So the bigger gift we should be offering this next generation is space. The space to dream, the space to imagine, and the space to believe. The deeper I think about it, the more I'm convinced that this thrum that I felt inside my soul when I was first introduced to these concepts of strategy and futurism were in part because of my father's faith in our human ability to make major change. I mean, it was 50 years later when, as an adult, I focused and I realized that it was this collection of brilliant minds working alongside each other with only the most basic technology that got those first rockets into space and those men onto the moon. And as I do my work and I discover more tools in futurism, I live more and more in a world of maybes and what ifs. And it's the possibility of the things that could be and that they could be different that drives me. So it's often said, and I kind of want to channel a little bit of Pravin here, which I focus in. It's often said that the difference between the word impossible and I'm possible is minuscule. All it is, and I'm hoping you can see that, an apostrophe and space to breathe between those words. And that is what we offer our children, because it's in that space that lies hope. And we're going to need a serious dose of that, a serious dose of hope and enthusiasm. So I'm very committed to empowering our next generation. They're very clued into what's going on around them. Almost from the time they're in kindergarten, you've heard Dimitrios talk about this, they're very engaged with climate change. They kind of have a gut sense of what's going on. And they know that they are on the brink of a huge global issue, one that's going to need all of us to rally around and solve. So they have to know that we know they are up to the task. They have to know that we have full faith in that is supported by like-minded souls from right across the globe of all age groups, that we can embrace this challenge. So now, going back to Branson, I'm not going to lie. As passionate as I am about space, I was very conflicted watching Richard Branson take off. I question whether we should embrace space tourism when we're facing so many other issues here on Earth. But there are also elements in what happened last week that motivate me. First, I see a normal member of society, a person who's 70 years old, excited and physically able to go into space. Second, Richard Branson was a dyslexic child, and yet he was able to create this organization from nothing because his parents believed in him. That has to be a message of hope and possibility that will inspire so many families out there. And the third is that This project took 10 years more to get off the ground than they'd originally forecast. Now, in a world that is loaded with instant gratification, I think it's important for the rest of us to see that and hear that. So as Branson said, to the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, imagine what you can do. So I see what happened as very positive, as very empowering. What I also see right now is that we've got a world under threat. I focus very strongly on climate change. We're all going to have to pull ourselves together. We're going to have to gather our forces together. But this is within our capabilities. As JFK said in 1962, when he announced man's mission to land on the moon, we do this not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And that's an important message to pass along. As Dimitrios and Tahira also noted, the children of today are the leaders of tomorrow. The time has come once again for us to embrace all these different kinds of possible, to live with possibility and imagination. And I believe we can do this together. So I'm Karena de Souza, and I thank you very much for having me on this talk.
Hi, Karena. I love your talk. And I love the fact that you love science fiction and futurism. And you know what? We are in a world where we need to look beyond these walls. We need to understand more than this earth. We need to really look past all the barriers. And we need to start taking on new thinking. So, and a lot of things, a lot of information coming out, which is, with all the flood of information out there, there's a lot of new things. I believe in the periodic table has changed. There's so much, even quantum physics is evolving. So, very interesting time right now. And what you're doing for children, yes, they really know what's happening. They're very clued in and they're very sensitive. I feel I have a lot of empathy for them. They need social connection. They need encouragement. They are very, very sensitive with everything. They are not like the previous generation of human. They actually care. So you're right about that. So what you're doing is good, and it's interesting to see that the others also doing the same thing. You know, realizing the future of children. It is the future of this planet. So thank you, Karena. And next speaker, Preeti. Preeti is interesting. She's a cake artist. And she's also a coach, and she's also an author of a book, and she works with inspiring individuals and to help them start their business at home. So very important work. Preeti, I'd love to hear from you. I know your mission here is to impact 1 million lives. That is great. Many of us need to be entrepreneurs. We need to be able to thrive at this time. So I look forward to hearing from what you have to say. Is Preeti there? Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you still. Your mic is on? So are you muted or?
No, can you hear me now?
Yes, good. Okay.
Okay, so just want to take a moment to share gratitude to the HIT platform, to Tahira, to Jane and Vicky. What you are doing here is fantastic. So many wonderful people talking about what's needed at this moment. And I really feel so lucky to be part of this. I also want to thank Elizabeth, who's nominated me to be a speaker today. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a very small story. And the story goes like this, that there was a farmer and he had his house a little far away from the field. And every day he had to carry 2 buckets of water to go to the field and water all his plants. So among the 2 buckets, one of the buckets was leaking and it was broken. So every day the farmer would carry the water and go to the field and come back, and this was a daily ritual. So one day this broken bucket was feeling very unhappy and very sad. And it just looked at the farmer and said, "Hey, why do you have to take me, every day? You have 1 bucket which is full and I'm a broken bucket. By the time you reach the field, all the water's gone away and I'm really not serving your purpose. I'm totally useless. So why would you want me to be as your part of your journey?" And the farmer just looked at him and he smiled and he said, "Well, I'll tell you that, but before I do that, I want you to walk on this path with me today. And instead of sulking, I want you to look around. I want you to observe what has happened on that path." And when they left, he realized that, along the path, there were beautiful rose shrubs. The color of the roses were blooming, the shrubs were really green and beautiful, and the fragrance was amazing, something that really filled his senses. And the broken bucket suddenly realized, felt so overwhelmed, and he just looked at the farmer and he said, "How did this all happen?" And the farmer smiled back again at him and he said, "You know what? You might be broken. You might be having holes. You might be very vulnerable at this moment. But remember, you've come with a purpose. And your purpose was served when you watered all those plants on the path to my field. So I'm thankful to you for being broken, for being vulnerable and not perfect." So I'm Preeti Muzumdar. As Tahira mentioned, I'm a cake artist and a coach, and I'm going to speak about authenticity and vulnerability. We are all broken buckets, so to say, in this current situation of the pandemic. We are all very vulnerable. We are going through anxiety, fear, most of what the other speakers have already spoken about. And we are also faced with a big problem of being confined interiors into our own home and living with our family. And that's made us realize in very close quarters about our relationships, about the people around us. And the loud, glaring fact or a rude shock that has come to all of us is that how we had got so busy in our life to not notice something that was this close to us. And what is this close is actually goes beyond being this close and being inside us, which is being authentic. So what is authenticity? Okay, so what is authenticity? Authenticity is all about being who you are, following your personality, your values, your behavior, your sets of thinking, in spite of the fact that there'll be a lot of pressure around you to change you. Now we're talking a lot about kids, and everybody, right from Daniel to Pravin to Dimitrios to Kirpal, everybody's spoken about how children are the most amazing aspect or the beautiful part of our current scenario. I mean, they are the ones who are giving us so much hope. And let's think about us when we were kids. We were a clean slate. We really didn't know how we are supposed to react or how we're supposed to cope with anything. We just kept learning. We just kept on adding these layers and layers above us. And what that has done to us is made us forget who we are originally. Okay, and Karena spoke very beautifully about how the space that we need to give our children and the confidence that we need to give our children that they can do anything that they want. I remember my father who told me that you have magic in your hands, Preeti. Whatever you desire to do, that is possible. And those words inspire me today. So we have to inspire our youth and our children and keep telling them they are good. And if they have to be good, they have to be authentic, which means that they have to accept who they are, and they have to be courageous enough to accept their weaknesses and their vulnerability, and believe that they are worthy of being loved for whatever they are and whoever they are. They don't need to, be following certain customs or be number one, because our society has conditioned ourselves to, applaud heroes or perfectionism. And, the perfectionism is driving people crazy and mad. And that's one message I wanted to give, that we don't need that right now. We don't need anybody pushing us to become perfect, or to tell us that we have to keep doing things that will really make sure that we are fighting what is happening around us. We just need to embrace it. We need to accept ourselves for who we are. Interestingly, being authentic is very debatable as well. So, will people accept who you are? Will people understand, your authenticity as being you, or would they find it offensive? Sometimes people do find other people who do not match with their values offensive. So, what do we do about that? Well, so for me, my understanding of authenticity is not starting with somebody else, but starting with me, which is me not expecting people to be like me or follow what I think is right or wrong. It is about embracing, as I said earlier, it is to make sure that I don't try to change people just because they don't agree with my value systems or what I think is right or wrong. So this is my message in a world full of copies, in a world full of all the duplicate stuff that's happening. Be authentic, be you. You are unique. You have a mission, and you have a purpose. So find your purpose, grow, share, learn, accept your vulnerability, accept whatever is good or bad about the situation, and go with the flow. Listen to your subconscious mind and keep being who you are. So that's my message for today. Once again, thank you so much for having me here and letting me share my views on this. I sincerely want to thank each one of you. Listening to you all has been also such a wonderful experience. Thank you once again.
And because you missed it earlier. What a wonderful talk, Preeti. And you're a cake artist, yet you can talk with such depth. You could be a speaker professionally also and inspire. In fact, everybody here has spoken about something that is so soulful and inspiring. Even though you've got different professions, like, business people, bakers, and more. So it's about tapping onto the human. Ultimately, we all have that human element, right? And on the front, the labels, the titles, those are not important so much anymore. I think this situation is teaching us, this COVID, whatever it is teaching us that we need to go past the labels and the titles and go within ourselves and show ourselves. Okay, I don't know whether Elizabeth is going to be speaking next. Elizabeth, is she on? Because yes, no? Okay, good. Elizabeth, I have to bring in Elizabeth quickly because she's rushing out. I just met Elizabeth recently on a podcast. She has her own podcast. And she runs a podcast for the young leaders, those who run businesses, the startups. So I was in a podcast with her on some giving advice and guidance. So I'm going to very quickly bring her on because of lack of time. So Elizabeth, it's on to you.
Thank you, Tahira. And I'm so pleased to be here. I'm so honored to be here. And so today I'm going to be talking about seasons of life. So this is because of my story. There was a time where when my kids were still young. They are still young now, but when I started having them and they were as young as, we could say, babies. So that moment of life for me was a time where I could say my self-worth began to go down because I couldn't feel comfortable with other working moms. And I want to say something that it's the same could apply for people when you're experiencing a season of life that is difficult or a trying times, a time that everybody is struggling, just like the pandemic. That doesn't mean that it's not the right season. One thing that I learned is the days might be long, but the seasons are short and nothing lasts forever. So another thing that I also learned in that process, in that moment, is there is the seasons that we go through really add up to years, and they shape us. It shapes our mindset. It also shapes us as individuals. It shapes our character. So sometimes people feel so uncomfortable that they want to fold up. They just want to leave quickly because of the discomfort of a certain season. While another time, people might just be conscious of what the season is teaching them. One thing that I would like to say is please reflect. Think of what, because nothing just happened for nothing. You need to train your mind to see the positive in everything that you go through in life. That will protect your sanity. It will help you experience peace and also appreciate the moment because you cannot redeem time. Time goes, it waits for no one. So looking back now, when I look at the time that I spent with my kids when they were like babies, they are grown now, at least. The oldest is 10. They are still young, but one thing is I appreciate the time that we spent together. And as they grow older a bit, I was able to start my business. So nothing lasts forever. Like some people, like there's this saying that says, no condition is permanent. So you just need to speak to yourself. No matter your situation, no matter the season you're in, there is always a lesson to learn. And you need to open your mind, you need to open yourself up to the lessons of life. Even when you make a dumb decision, everything will still work together for good because it's just temporary. It's just temporal, and you're just passing through that. It might not be the moments that you want to experience, but it might be the right season for you, and it's for a reason. And I would like you to also cultivate the heart of gratitude. Always give thanks because when you hear other people's story, you will know that it's a privilege for you that you are even alive to experience what you're going through. It might not seem the best for you at the moment, but when you look back, you will be glad that you go through that. And then you pay it forward by sharing the lessons and also helping the others that was maybe might be in the same shoes as you or even worse. So when you start sharing your stories with people, it helps you to connect. It creates a kind of connection and make other people feel welcome and comfortable to share with you. So you are able to offer a shoulder to people to lean on because we all need one another. No one is an island. So when you go through a season of life, that's not the end. Giving up shouldn't be an option. It's just temporal. And position your mind, you train your mind to see the good in everything. So I am so grateful to be here I'm so grateful and so happy to share this with you. Thank you, Tahira, and thank you, Jane and Vicky. Yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. And we come to the end, but not completely the end. I want to say that I could see there's a common theme here. Children, the future of children, being there for each other, the emotions, anxiety, fear, managing that seemed to be a common theme amongst everyone. And the reason why, there's a word called morphic resonance. There's also a word called quantum entanglement. Karena probably knows. So what's the information out there? Because we all connect in the spirit, we will probably tap onto similar feelings, energy, and we know what's important right now. Yes, there is a lot of resonance, the morphic resonance. And the quantum entanglement, each particle impacting another beyond time and space. So we're all far away, but we are connected. And we know what the planet needs now, protection of children. We know what the planet needs now, which is also people who want to express, who need love. Someone said to me, a friend of mine said to me, I just need a hug. I just need a hug a day to get me through. You know, the basic thing like that was making her miserable. Can you imagine that? So, yes, healing. We're going back to the basics. Before that, before COVID, we were chasing after what we thought were the big things. Actually, those are not the big things. These are the big things. So I'm glad that we had that resonance. It's like this global mind. We are tapping onto it, and we are all together. We're all united energetically. Now, the next Hit Talks is going to be on the 30th of July. And you're welcome to recommend speakers. By all means, please share on Hit Talks your experiences. Post on social media what you felt. Yes, be one of our speakers. Share the message. Hit Talks is for everyone. Every one of you is a messenger. When you tap deep within you, there is a message that you carry that the Creator, Source, has given to you. And to you may seem small, but to someone else it could be life-changing, mind-altering. And yes, if you want to host the Hit Talks, by all means, reach out to us. You can run your own special edition. Okay? And thank you all. Thank you all, everyone. Loved meeting all of you from Canada, from the United States, India, Singapore. Yes. Look forward to getting to know each and every one of you. You're now friends. This is a community. This is a tribe. Because we have opened up our hearts. Let the friendships begin. Thank you so much for joining us, all audience from around the world watching. Do share this video and share the message of Hit Talks and our mission. It's not about selling, it's about imparting. Thank you very much. And I believe there is a video which we're going to show.